All right. Hello, what's going on? It's Race Brain Podcast. My name is Rich Ryan. My audio is bad. Jack Bowers here. His audio is bad. Internet bad. BK is here. Just talk for the people so they can hear that crystal clear, amazing voice of yours.
Golden nuggets verbally dropping down your throat today.
That's what we can expect. We got the full squad back in action today. We're going to be talking about Hyrox World Championships exclusively. We're going to be going through some of our takes that we have there. I got a couple rumors that I'd like to spread. Are we excited about
You want
that?
to start off with those, or you
No,
want
no, that's teaser, man. We got to keep
Make
the
people
audience
listen.
around. They're
Yeah.
going to want to hear these rumors that I have of Hyrox stuff. I was just out and about. There's an after party, and that really not my scene these days. But I was there for the rumors. I was like, I'm just in there. I'm just asking people what's up, getting close, earning people's trust, so I can benefit
Betray it.
for it in my with talking with you guys on the internet. So
I got a rumor.
you do too.
Yep.
You want to save it for
I'm
rumor?
Yeah.
I'm gonna just give you guys a rumor. Why not?
You're just gonna two truths and a lie,
Yeah.
three lies.
That-
Just
yeah.
Did you
just do three
listen?
lies?
Rich,
To what?
we did a Q&A, two truths and a lie last week.
What, you think you guys made that up? You think you created two truths and a
No,
lie?
I know we didn't make that up, but it was too timely for you to bring up that reference.
There's
You think
no
Rich
chance.
is gonna? You think Rich is gonna spend time in Europe listening?
I
to
thought he
Running
was
Public?
lonely.
Come on.
I'm in the
Didn't
south
have
of
his wife there yet.
I'm in the south of France. I'm having a great time. I haven't been.
I-
BK asked me he's like, hey man, how you doing through text? Basically like, you should feel like shit kind of thing. And I was like, I would, but I'm in Nice. It's beautiful. My wife's here. I will throw a pity party for myself sporadically when I have time to, but I've been all right. We're hanging
Rich,
in there.
I saw that story that you posted. I guess this morning because of the time zone difference. I'm like, that's like my nightmare vacation right there. Like just a beach.
So much
And I'm
sun.
like, most people are like, this is amazing. I mean, the view's fantastic. That's literally the Mediterranean right there, right?
Now I gotta
It's
check
part.
this out.
It's a couple. It's like the Balearic Sea. It's like
Oh, okay.
so it leads into the Mediterranean.
Okay,
I
yeah.
believe.
Eventually it gets there, yeah.
Yeah,
It looks nice.
looks
regardless.
nice, man. The beach here, it's rocks, like not like little pebble rocks, like actual like 3 or 4 inch rocks. Very uncomfortable. So
Okay.
they have these beach clubs set up along the way that you basically buy a chair. So this is your nightmare, Jack. You got everything. They're nickel and
Spend money on
diming
to
ya.
sit down. Like, come on, this is
That's it. Like
yeah.
you can get a towel and just lay down on the rocks and just be a man about it, but not me.
I'll let you figure out
You have
how
to
that
bring a
works.
yoga mat, one of those thick ones.
Big time, big time. One of those like mats that you had in like gym class in what do we call in Phi Ed?
Phi-Ed, the whatever stupid thing that
If-
Bracken and Kirk say.
You got to bring out the
I don't say
high
it.
jump mat.
But I live it.
That's
Phys ed.
he's about
I had that
Phi Ed
across my
life.
shirt for gym
Yeah.
class.
He's about
Yeah.
that Phi Ed life. So today we're talking about the Hyrox World Championships. Real quick, we did do fantasy Hyrox World Championships.
Most of us did. I'm not taking. I was listening to that, and
She
I'm
did
like,
well.
this is not how I would have drafted personally.
No, of course not.
You
Yeah.
wouldn't take Hunter first overall?
If my name was in there, the wheel of names would have turned out differently. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. The
We do have some
butterfly
housekeeping
effect.
with that draft to clean up.
So
Already done.
I did not listen to Race Brain last week. First episode I've ever missed. How did the technology work? Did you get that draft work?
The board we had it. It didn't
Okay.
it didn't work as seamless.
Okay.
There was some copy and paste.
So little technical difficulties.
Everybody would populate as female except me. Somehow I was the only one that populated male. It was amazing.
I put it that way, definitely. Yep.
I was like, this is
Wait, you did or
factual.
didn't listen, Jack?
I did not listen.
So how'd you know about her picks?
He's just blindly talking shit.
Yeah, I'm talking. Yeah, I don't know the results.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so BK, what's the housekeeping you wanted to bring up?
I had some people no-show.
You had one person no show.
And who did I get? I got the replacement,
Colin.
just naturally.
Mhm.
So it helped my team.
It helped my team a little bit more because I had Tim
Oh,
Vinesh, and that
I
got
mean, let's
Tobias.
you
The
got
so
fourth
Tobias,
one.
not me.
I mean, that's what was the replacement.
so you go
Okay.
direct replacement because Tim was specifically replaced by someone. You're going with Tim's specific replacement, and same as Lucas. Okay, that I think
That's what
that's
we did. We could have opened up the waiver period, but I was
Y-
preparing to drop a fat bomb in that race,
did
so I
did
couldn't be bothered with fantasy stuff.
did Bracken pick Lucas in like round two?
No, he went late. Luke went late.
Okay, all right. I guess you got who you wanted before then. I guess.
So Lauren, her scoring team was Hunter in fifth, Bo in eighth, Tomash in 11th, Linda fifth, Vivian third, and then Kate and Zara in sixth and eighth. She ended up with 46 points.
Job,
BK,
Uh,
Jack.
uh, it's
Jack,
not. I'm
that's
not.
your
I'm
score.
not accepting that.
BK had Palayo in fourth, Sandy in second, John Wynn in ninth, Lauren Weeks in second, Amy Bevilacqua in seventh, and Alina in 11th for 47 points. Your boy had Ronco in first, JK in third, Tobias in sixth, Graham Halliday in seventh, Meg Jacoby in first, Viola in fourth, and Maria Fetchik in ninth. Even drafting
Murdered.
myself way too early, I accumulated 31 points.
You could have like added extra people and
I
still
could add,
beaten.
maybe I will
Yeah.
add my score here and just take out somebody else's, just so I can be part of the team,
No, just straight up at it because
part of the winning
46.
team. I
You
could
said
just
you had
add it.
31. Yeah,
Yeah, just
31 plus 13. That's
13.
44. You still.
Oh
Yeah.
my god,
I don't want to hear it.
that's a teeth
No,
kicking.
no,
See,
he's
Brack.
not. We're not here to make him feel better today.
Yes,
No,
that's
we're
all I
not.
got. That's all I got right now. So I'm taking it. All right, you guys want to start men's or women's?
Women went first. Let's
Women
go
went
there.
first.
Yeah.
Women went first. Meg Jacoby took the world championship, her first world championship in impressive fashion. I think by almost 4 minutes, three and a
4 minutes
half
about.
minutes. I was watching sporadically. They had the setup was really cool, and like there was some elevated like stands, and the warm up area was elevated, so I was able to catch some of it. I saw what happened on the sled pole, and then I saw her come into the row, however long later, and I started just counting the seconds to see where she was at, and I got to like 70 seconds in my head, seven Mississippi, not
Wow.
1,000, seven Mississippi, and nobody was there, so I stopped counting, and I was like, okay, I guess I can just go warm up now. It was just a wrap, an absolute
Yeah.
wrap. Lauren Weeks finishes in second, running in seventh for the majority of the race. Crazy wall balls. Vivian in third, Viola in fourth, and Linda Meyer finishing out the top five. So, fellas, what's the key? What are some of your key takeaways here? What did you learn from this race?
Well, we had Lauren on the show, and I referenced this already in a past episode, but we asked her what was her worst race ever, and she said, I'm not as into finish results as I am about effort. She said, so I don't think I've ever really had a bad race because I've never given up. And that's the kind of thing that like you love to hear, but it's, do you ever really believe it? And then this race proved that she had every reason on earth to A, step off the course, or B, just mail it in. And she never gave up. And she had to stay on it for every single second of the race in order to take the finishing position she did. Had she even backed off for one more second in that race, she misses second place. And she didn't even go unbroken on wall balls. I don't know if you guys caught that.
No, she didn't.
Yeah,
She
she
took,
placed it down once
yeah, she put it
that
down
I
with
saw.
like 12 to go or like 15
Yeah.
to go, something
Wow.
like that.
What?
So she just stayed on it everywhere else and worked all the way back. And it wasn't even her wall balls that necessarily did it. They just finished off the job that she had done on the previous stations where she started chipping and chipping and chipping. So it just cemented to me who Lauren really is. And it's who she says she is. She's just someone who wants to go out and test herself every time. So while Meg was utterly impressive, Lauren blew me away as well.
It's remarkable to see her results here in terms of where she was according to the field in all of the stations. You'd think that she would have that bomb on pole. She didn't do well on push. She was eighth there,
No.
but she didn't win any except Skierg.
She was
didn't.
dinged from
E-
that.
She
Even
got
watching her
whacked.
running
Yeah, she
early
got hurt.
on, I was like, that's not the normal spring that you would expect. Like it just looked like something was slightly off. So to just keep on going, and we're definitely going to get to Meg, who won the race. But just while we're on Lauren, I think the thing that this revealed was even when you have a bad day, and I know it was only a second, there the top two women are still just on a different level. Like for
Yeah.
her to finish second when everyone else had a fantastic, like what Vivian, Linda, Viola, what all of them did was remarkable. And for Lauren to still pull that off, I still think that there's just a little bit of separation at the top, realistically, even when one of them has a bad day. Because this whole season, we haven't seen like tight battles between them at the races.
No.
One of them wins by 1 to 2 minutes every single. There's just a gap, and they go at each other. And this time, Meg just had a much better day, and Lauren still found a way to get second place. And separate. She didn't really separate, but she closed the gap for the first time. This is like the first battle she's been in all year, realistically.
Right. Well, yeah, like they both had a bit of a fight in DC where things kind of came and went for Lauren, and she fought her way back, but not to this extent, coming into wall
Yeah,
balls and
not till
seventh.
the end, being unsure where you're going to finish, second or fifth. Yeah,
I think she was fifth coming into wall balls by that point. She had caught up well coming into lunges, but didn't make much headway on lunges. But
No,
she was back there at least.
she did not have a good lunge. She was sixth in lunges, and yeah, 328 for wall balls. That's really not
It's
spectacular for
15
her.
seconds off what we'd expect from her.
Yeah, yeah. I thought it was. I mean, I actually
that's
haven't watched.
hilarious. Saying like that's not spectacular, but
Right.
It's
that's
not.
just what we're
It's
used to.
just, no, she
Yeah,
doesn't usually put that ball down, and she's
And that
fast
could
in
have
her
been a sweat
squats.
thing. We saw so many people drop it from sweat alone.
Oh,
yeah,
yes, agreed.
But
yeah. Rich, can you go over some of the conditions there? Like how bad was it?
It was it was really warm. It was these older convention center areas that like the air like that didn't feel like there was air conditioning at all. There was a
You're in
lot of
Europe, so yeah,
exactly. There was a lot of people in the venue. So
mhm.
noticeably on Friday, it was warmer than it was Saturday, than warmer than it was Sunday because of just the amount of people that were in there. It was later in the day, and it's humid here, like extremely humid. It wasn't super hot, but the humidity was present. So it's probably as warm as that Orlando race, BK, only and with no AC. Like
Mm.
that's how it felt for me. I was trying to think if I
And 2,000
had
more people
and yeah,
breathing and
way more
yelling.
people. Yes,
yeah.
it was very hot and going and leading into it. I thought, from just being experienced with road races and having to deal with these conditions, generally just going out more conservative is just the move. Because once it goes, it goes. And the conditions made for more challenging sleds too. I think the humidity definitely has a factor on the sleds. And
Bit into the
this
carpet a little bit.
gets into the carpet, it's a little more wet. Yeah, it's just like stickier. Everything's sticky. And then the concrete floor was a great running surface because it was all textured. It was like rough
Mhm.
everywhere. And so that rough flooring with the carpet over top of it with the humidity made for heavy sleds. These felt like old school American heavy sleds.
Circa 2021.
For
Like,
sure. It really
wow.
did. Like, and that was even in the warm up when we were doing like the briefing, people kind of pushing it like, oh, this feels a little heavy. And that was kind of my takeaway from this then was that Meg is the best overall complete Hyrox athlete, right? There was different circumstances, different conditions here that she was prepared for. Where if this is a race like it was in DC, or like in Chicago, a course like Cologne, where the carpets and the sleds are moving, it might be a different story. But now in the sport, you need to be prepared for everything. You can't just be prepared for what the race felt like last time. You need to be prepared for wonky turns, like long rock zone. And that's where we saw someone like JK, which we'll talk about later, excel through the rock zone. And the longer
Yeah.
that had, like that was very helpful for him. And Meg just was more prepared for any type of high
Yeah.
rocks.
In behind scenes conversations leading up to this throughout the season, my only worry about Meg was that she has gotten so strong. looking. Like she is so muscular. She is notably bigger from a muscle mass standpoint
Yeah.
than when we first saw her. And you see people like Hunter and Alex trying to go the opposite way and cutting down and becoming more of a runner, where she is looking like she could step into the CrossFit game. She just looks like such a powerhouse. And that was the only question, is what course are we going to get? Like, is she going to have to be able to run 17:20 out there for a 5K type ability, or is she going to be able to run into a sled that's immovable? And clearly her running hasn't atrophied at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's one of those rare people that can get stronger and still run, but she came in there with the most accessible power, it looked like.
Yeah, I sort of think of just seeing these heavy sleds, to do like an OCR analogy. It's almost like being able to race at altitude. It's like just one other tool in your set that if you can do that, it's going to differentiate. We see some athletes just can't do it. And with the trend that the sleds have been going pretty much all year, it's like they weren't really impactful. I know talking with some other athletes, they're like, well, I've got a game plan. Like I just need to crush the sleds now because they're not really gonna. I'm gonna get it done in 2.5 minutes, and that was not the case this race. And I feel like if you practiced on, and I'm sure everybody did heavy sleds, but if you were prepared for those heavy sleds, just like some athletes are prepared specifically for altitude or extremely humid conditions, if you have that ability, that it clearly paid off right here.
Yeah, I think that's a great comparison. It could be even just like with OCR where it might be something a little bit more unknown even because we don't know
Yeah.
what it's gonna if it's gonna be heavier or light. Like in OCR, it's
Yeah.
like, all right, we're in a river bank for a half mile. Who's the
Can you
best at
swim or
that? Yeah,
Or even the
okay.
double carry.
Even a double
yeah.
carry. Great call. It's
Yeah.
like check your boxes, and even though this is
Yeah, it's like
supposed to be,
it's like everybody can run uphill, but can you power hike? Just have that extra little ability level, and Meg has it.
Meg has it. Meg has it. And yeah, it's a little annoying that this is a standardized race and you still kind of need to be prepared for anything to show up. And that's what we got here, right? Like
Sounds familiar. Yeah.
it's yeah, it's not like it's more like the Kona World Championships that BK like to talk about. It's not the best triathlete that day, it's who's the best at training in the heat and
Kona.
handling it on that
Yeah.
on that day. It's who's the best at Kona. And this race was more like that than who's the best at like Hyrox, I would say. But I
Yeah.
think that's hand in hand, and that's my takeaway from here. The best person at Hyrox is the best person that can handle all of it and just be
So
ready. The race might turn
It's
out different other times, but you have to be ready for all of it.
That's something I wanted to bring up later, but you already brought it up, is that in these other sports, people try to win the name of the race, like the location. Like
Mm.
they're just hard, like Lionel Sanders, just hell-bent trying to win Kona. In Walmsley, hell-bent trying to win UTMB. Like the place it's occurring at is what they're battling against. Where other people are trying to win the Olympics or win the
Mm.
5K, win the marathon. It's not the place they're trying to beat. They're trying to beat the the unchanging demands of the race. And this, we have the Hyrox World Championships, but you're really trying to beat that course, whatever comes up. Like this was a Kona, this was a UTMB, this was a course where times were 2 minutes slow. It seemed like,
For sure. I would
We'll
think
talk about
and
that.
okay, my
it,
guess is 90 seconds just from talking to people.
and it was, and the sleds were different than what they've been having, and the humidity was high, and we'll talk about the rumors for location next year and what that's going to mean. But this is becoming a Kona type thing where you get to World Championships and what are we going to see? And I don't know if it's bad. I don't know if it's good. I just know that it rewarded the people that, like you said, could really just do it all.
Yeah. Right. And that's a bit of the downfall for my race. Like I've been
You were
preparing.
dialed.
I was trying to just
Yeah.
the newer sleds, the way the races have been going. It's like if I can press hard into these sleds and be able to continue to move, sled pull kind of stopped me in my tracks. And then the heat is something that I didn't have a good
We don't have
plan.
it in Colorado. How
No,
can you do? Yeah.
I know I wasn't wearing like long sleeve shirts, but I also didn't have a plan to deal with it during the race. I just didn't
Yeah.
even think I was gonna have to. And then it was
It
just
it
hoping it'd be fine, and it wasn't.
yeah. So they've never done Nice before for a venue, right?
No.
Okay, so how would anybody have known ahead of time?
Right.
You know
Right.
unless you're taking a second
Mhm.
trip out there to scope out the floor and hope that we're like you're not going to go into a convention center months in advance, bring your own sled, and be like, okay, this is what it's going to be like. You just it's hard to know.
You just have to make it varied. It has to be a little bit more like CrossFit. Some workouts heavy sled,
Yeah,
some workouts fast sled, some workouts
Yeah.
heated,
yeah,
you know?
As as someone from the outside who did something early and then backed away and just watched, this is encouraging, I think, for a lot of athletes because the sport felt like it was getting to the point where, like, you know who's going to be good, and you know if you don't fit that mold. Like, if
Mhm.
I can't push in 2 minutes and I can't pull in three and I can't run 340 coming out of that, like, I just can't do it. This course is that like power hiking and double sandbag carry
Mhm.
of OCR that made the people who maybe weren't as dialed at that thing feel like, well, at least I still have a chance. This does give people some semblance of hope, I think, that they don't have to run 55 minutes to be able to be really good at this.
yeah.
But my question for you, Rich, is prior to this, we talked, they always err towards making the sleds a little easier at Worlds. They've
Yeah.
got their little pull test and a little pulley. They give it a tug and say how it feels. And how did it wind up heavy?
I don't think they're really doing that. Like, because it just,
Okay.
that's not true. Yeah. I don't
But in
know.
the past, they've pulled on it and they've felt things and they've adjusted.
But are
That,
they doing 40 lanes? Like,
you're right.
But no lane was easy out there.
No
yeah,
lane was easy, right?
it
And I don't think
seemed like
anybody,
lane one was got the rough draw.
well,
Like on
Lauren
As
was in
well.
two.
or two. Okay,
She
yeah,
was in
whichever
one and
one.
then two. So,
Okay,
and Meg was
yeah,
in
then
also in those. So not really.
so I get yeah, Meg crushed
So
it
not really.
realistically.
She,
Okay,
yeah, Lauren
I
just
thought she
got,
was in two, but I mixed those up.
she was in one for the push.
Okay,
And
And
then
then
Meg caught
Hunter and
her in lane
Alex.
Meg
two.
never
And Meg was in
relinquished the lead
one.
after that. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, I think because they did what you're referring to was in in Las Vegas where they removed a plate, but I think that they have not been familiar with American sleds at that point, and they've pushed it and they
Hmm.
realized that it was different, and they're like, oh no, we need to do something. But I think with the new kit, they just let it be. Is it the
Okay.
same one as
Because
because
they even after the last European race, I don't know, maybe it was the last chance qualifier, there was a post and they talked about someone from Hyrox was commenting on there like we have a system for determining this, and so and then people were arguing, well then what if I get to a lane with different amount than the others? But they had recently in the last month they had brought it back up themselves.
maybe there's some variants. I don't know exactly how they use it. Maybe it has to be
Okay,
outside of a window, like a plus
interesting.
minus, I would imagine, because it's probably not going to be the exact same every time. So if it's
Well, this would
plus
have been
minus
outside that
whatever it
window.
was, you would think a sled pull, a little like old
Again, I'm not
school.
complaining. I'm not saying it's good or bad, just it was an outlier. And
If
that's
they
interesting.
right, if they just need to get rid of the weights in general and just say, here's what they are. We decided this is what they're going to feel like today. Um,
Hmm.
but I don't know. I just don't think that they're really doing that,
Okay.
in my opinion. In my
So
opinion.
back to the women.
Back to the women. That was mostly that was my takeaway. Right, is Meg is just
yeah.
all around ready.
Can I add something on Meg if you let me do a screen share?
Yeah, let me allow this.
While that's happening, Kate Davey looked good.
She was right there. I felt when I saw Kate Davey come into row, I think in fourth.
Yeah.
I felt good for myself because she like must have managed the sleds well, and I was like, I'm gonna chill on these sleds and I'm gonna be ready to rock later. Didn't work out the way that I thought it was going to.
She has
All
an
right.
interesting row technique.
Does she?
Yeah. Yeah, there were a few women in that field that were using almost no arms.
She did not row well. She did not ski well either. She's also small.
She is, but she was getting very, very little like even like elbow bend once she was all the way back. Like there was very little pull happening. It was I don't know if she was just saving, if maybe her arms were toast from the pull. I don't know.
Maybe for farmers, she needs something. Yeah, I don't know. Because she actually had good sleds. Her sled push was where she caught everybody, it seems like.
Real good runner. But
Some people came out of those sleds with pace. Others came off just destroyed.
She had a good burpee as well. and then
All
her
right.
run kind of went down. All right, what do we got?
I'm just going to share this real quick. You guys see Excel?
There it
I'm going to
is.
zoom in. Okay. So right here, I have all my adjusted times, and we can go into this, at a future episode a little deeper. But season 6, I had Meg with 4 previous to Nice. So now she's got 5 of the top 6 times this year adjusted.
Adjusted.
I
Wow.
I think she was actually the favorite. Lauren's Vienna time was absurd, but Meg was consistently a little bit better adjusted, even when they weren't, going head to head. So I thought that was pretty eye opening because Meg has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the top 10. Lauren has 4. And I guess Nice would get added in there also if I were to add it back in. Let's see where it actually would
Yeah,
go.
Nice is not in here?
Nice would be the 3rd best performance, just by 2 seconds behind that. But Lauren's Vienna was the best race of the year. If Lauren came in with her Vienna fitness or performance, she would have probably been difficult to beat this race. But you can just see that this actually was the season of Meg when all things are considered.
Yeah, outside of and Lauren just ran amazing in Vienna.
Yeah.
Meg kind of had a stinker in DC, but when
Yep.
Meg's on, she's very hard to beat.
She's tough to beat. But yeah, so pretty much during mass prediction contest, I didn't trust my numbers, and now that I see it after the race, same thing with the men's side. I'm convinced I've got something going there for the adjusted numbers.
You picked Lauren?
I picked Lauren until you lose. That was kind of my thought. Like,
Sure.
got to go with her. It's no disrespect to Meg, but the numbers did suggest that she actually probably should have won.
You picked Hunter too?
I did. Yep.
Man, tough.
We'll see how those show.
All right. Anything else we on the top
How about
2?
that battle for 3rd? Yeah.
So yes, so Vivian.
What happened? That was carnage. Yeah.
Could you guys tell what was going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had no idea, but I guess
you didn't know that was going on in the venue. You just probably thought everyone was just losing their mind watching a close finish, right?
They had the camera behind them, so you could see the counters.
Oh, you could.
Yeah.
Those counters.
So basically what happened is they all crossed. Vivian, Viola, and Lauren was it Lauren first, Viola second, Vivian?
Viola first.
Viola first. Yeah, I was going to say Lauren didn't finish in second.
She was one stride behind her.
And then Vivian 1 stride behind that. Right?
Essentially.
Yeah. Essentially.
Vivian's like 4th place. I'll cross the line again.
I know. I thought she was 4th place. I was like, no way. The Lori spot. So Viola left 1 rep early. Right? And then Vivian left 1 rep early.
Yes, but they threw their 100th, saw it, hit the target, and took off, and then it flashed red.
Flash no rep.
They thought it was going to be a clean rep when it was out of their hands, and they're like, I need that 0.2 second edge to make this final sprint because we were tied. And then it turns out there was actually no rep.
Should they have introduced these counters?
I mean, yes. Hindsight says no, obviously, but when we got to that and it's there and every angle they show, you can see it and the crowd can see it. I was excited for it. Like, this is awesome.
A big
this
number.
Ups the ante for the World Championship. This is exactly what the crowd needs. Then you don't have to worry. You don't have to wait on the announcer to be like, and there's Rich Ryan's to 70 and Pelayo's to 71. You don't have to wait for that. You can just see in real time, and like the buzz would build. So I think it was the right decision, but something in the execution.
The technology is a little off, and we can go into the men's race after, but there was a pretty big deal there with the issue, in my opinion. That was like with Sandy, that sucked.
So we had a chance to, we all had a chance to go out and see them, throw the ball at them, figure out how it was gonna be. They are pressure, it's not light. So got an answer on that. For the elite
you can't just graze it. It's detecting a minimum
Yes.
force against it.
Yes, because
Okay.
like Makita was there and he was like tapping it. He was like jumping, hitting the 9 foot. BK out there hitting that 10 foot target,
Yeah.
just straight up bunnies, bang,
He is not
hit,
jumping.
boom, boom,
Yeah.
hit both. And
How much is it? Just like just tap, or like you gotta?
it seemed like more like a tap, but there's a box, right? That there's like these at this X that kind of goes out, and the square that is the X is then the target. What's cool is that they can expand that further for like open, right? And you can hit the edges, you can hit the target anywhere, and it will count. But for pro, they zoom it in tighter. So when we
So
were
they're
doing
talking
it,
about precision.
So dumb.
That why is it any different? It's a 10-foot target for open and pro.
they
It,
want accuracy,
It
whatever.
also makes it a worse visual product because people don't know why
That's the
yeah.
it's not
problem.
counting.
And that's what they were telling us like, hey, the judge has the ultimate call here, so don't worry about the counter. And I was like, well, the judges are going to be
That
influenced by this
they can't,
flashing red screen. And they're like, no, they won't. And they definitely were,
Mhm.
right? And they were on they were using iPads as like their clicker. So
Mhm.
like, so they could manually override it. But like, were they? Like they saw
but if
red in front of their face.
they've got a thing, and then they're pressed and they're looking like during the course of a wall ball rep, like you shouldn't take your eyes off if you're a judge of the athlete, like to
So
touch
I
your.
hate that it's touchscreen.
Oh,
Click,
I do not
click,
like that.
click.
So they're
It,
looking at this pad
yeah.
and probably the depth, and they're just relying on the counter, like whatever it's saying, and it flashes red on their screen the same way that it flashes red on everyone else's screen. So they weren't doing what they said that they were going to do in terms of just go on the judge. I thought they were going to be sitting there with clickers, but they weren't. They were sitting there with the iPads touching it.
Yeah.
Because that was my
And it's
whole
too
thing.
slow of a process for a 100th wall ball.
Yeah,
Too
Yeah.
slow.
right.
With
So
thousands on the line, they have to throw their 100th and then wait for clearance. Like if that's going to
Assess the
be it, then you have
situation.
like we're waiting on the arm up. At that point, it needs to be that system.
and that seemed to be the issue on the women's end, right? Like it was just mass
Yeah.
confusion on the whole deal, which sucks that
I
it
felt
came down to
terrible.
that. Yeah.
Ugh.
Felt bad for every single person involved, including the judges.
Now,
They're in a difficult situation.
Yeah.
here's an honest question. We're like, oh yeah, a little disappointed in that. If Spartan did this, would have been a different reaction, I think. Just being just fully
Reaction was pretty
transparent.
bad online.
Oh, okay. I didn't see the comments that people were ripping into him.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
In the live stream, everywhere. Yes.
Okay. Because I just think this is a big deal. This is the second out of 5 big races this year where there's been a technological issue with the rower incident in Vienna, and now this, and it happened in the men's and women's race. Like Sandy's counter got screwed up. I know that we gave a lot of crap about why did DECA introduce their new sleds at DECA Worlds last year. That seemed like an odd trend. Now, why do you introduce these counters or have
They
them
were
here when
introduced before, right?
I introduce is the wrong word, but like if they're not flawless and absolutely perfect with so much on the line right here, anything could happen. And we had a 3-way battle right at the end, and it truly affected the optics of the finish.
They changed the podium.
Yeah.
And that is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're getting a little bit of, like, for me, Hyrox will get a bit of grace because they are continuously upping the ante,
Oh, I know.
trying
Yeah.
to improve and get better. Where Spartan is just stupid all the time.
I get it. I'm just saying that if this was a world championship situation and something like this, remember when we had the double sandbag issue with like Esther and Lindsay, we were like, this is a joke. This is unacceptable. So
Wasn't a world championship, so it doesn't matter that much. Didn't care about that.
Yeah. I'm just calling out when it's due. Basically,
Fair.
that's what I'm saying.
You're being fair.
I'm with Rich where I give them grace because they keep working.
Yeah.
They keep trying to be better. However, when it costs the podium at world championships, that's where my grace ends.
Who do you think was like, who got cost? What was the cost?
Well, someone missed the podium who crossed the line second.
Yeah.
She also had a penalty earlier in the race.
The 3 seconds for the ski erg leaving early or something. But But didn't they kind of just arbitrarily this race? They're like, okay, we're just gonna use that as our easy way to sort it out instead of figuring, who actually crossed the line after the wall ball and then assess a penalty. Didn't they just kind of simplify it and say, here's a second base rep penalty?
Wait, so
I think so.
and the 3-second penalty was added after the fact?
Correct. To make it easy, I thought.
Oh, I thought she was held somewhere for 3 seconds.
She left with like 990 something on her ski, or
Right.
I think
No,
it
I
was a
get
ski.
that. I thought they
Yeah.
held her at the next station for 3 seconds.
No,
That's
I
how
don't
it
believe
should
so.
be.
Well, they just didn't catch it. What do you mean? How are you supposed to hold somebody if they're
After the
gone?
sled, you're just like, here's the penalty box for 5 seconds. Or...
Yeah, next time you see him on course, you have a 3-second. You gotta. What should they
I
do
mean,
in triathlon?
they do that with drafting, right?
Yeah, they do that. There's a.
Could be.
Anyways, I don't want things decided after the finish line. Ever.
No,
Yeah.
right.
Ever.
Right.
Anyway,
So you
the
felt she
finish line
was
looked.
you felt she was cost because she thought she was done when she wasn't done?
Yeah, because they all threw it, they all hit it, they all take off, and 2 of the 3 it was not. But if they were just going rep, no rep by the judge, they would have called no rep, but it hit the target. It's just dumb. So I don't like that the optics of that. That's not the way we talked. There are going to be more eyes on this than we've ever had. In our female podium was just a mess crossing the line. And that's not the optics the sport needs for legitimacy. But I do love that they're trying it, and I hope they get it sorted.
Yeah.
But the finish line, my mom came over afterwards. She had been watching. She said, you know what I decided? They either need a longer run to the finish or they need a different finishing order. And I think, and because you get to the situation where there's no clean path from your last rep to the finish line. Because it's parallel like this running over, and there's athletes and now judges standing right in your way. You have to decide, do I go in between the athlete and the judge? Do I go out and around them? Or do I cut inside? Whereas if they angled the wall ball, everyone would have a clean run to the finish. And if you had more time, you could make up for issues like that. But it's a really awesome, like, crescendo, and then it just falls flat because then there's just chaos to the line. I do not like that. You should have a clear line to drop and run.
Well, we'll bang at this drum as much as we possibly can. Finish with a run. Let's start everybody on the ski erg, put them in lanes.
Finish with a run.
Run after wall balls.
And turn the rig and put the pros on one side of it. So that when you finish, you drop and turn, and there's no one in your way, rather than staring directly at the athlete to the right of you and their judge to the right behind them. There is no route through it. But if you just angle it a few degrees, everyone has a clear turn and go.
Yeah, it's like Meg and her daughter were there cheering people on, but it's like there's 2 more people in the. They're not doing it, maliciously, but it's like you don't want to weave after your 100th wall ball and a world championship podium spot on the line. All things considered, though, coverage was fantastic. I actually liked the display of seeing the number of reps because as an athlete, I'm sure you're like, oh, I'm only 4 behind, because I guarantee you, Lauren, once she got into those wall balls, she's like, I have a chance. Even if she did go, actually put it down rarely. I think that probably gave her a little bit of hope instead of just mentally being like, well, they could be at 70, they could be at 17. I don't know where they're at in the process. So I if they get it right, it's great. But it did ruin the moment there, honestly.
And they brought the tech back for the ski and row. And I like that.
I liked it. Yeah.
I like that. I think that's
something
that should be part of the deal.
I don't like it when they're like, so-and-so's 100 meters in. Now they're 200. It's like moves. There are different paces going on. Not everybody's going the same pace. And seeing like in the team race, for instance, where it's like Hunter's at, started 17 meters behind and he closed the gap within the first 500. You're like, whoa, that's kind of cool to, I know I can picture in my mind what it takes to, what pace they're going, even if they're not showing the pace per 500, which would be another thing to add on the screen. But that would be nice. But I do like the distance live updates that they had. I thought that was a great improvement.
It still wasn't right. They showed all 3 women at the exact same distance on the ski erg, all 3 across the board, and all of a sudden Meg's gone. I mean, Lauren's gone.
Out.
Like it was probably 30 to 40 meters off. So I love the concept of it, but it was a useless metric if you were actually trying to see what was going on in the race.
I liked it as a racer. I thought
As
it
a racer,
was.
because you get an accurate view of
Oh yeah,
what's
because you had
happening.
your boat, right? Yeah.
It wasn't the boat, but we just saw like plus minus. So the two people left and
Two lanes
right.
next to you. Yeah.
Yeah, so it could be like you can see how you were doing compared to
Yeah.
them instead of screen watching.
You're
So
still
I
probably
actually
going to
like
screen
that.
watch a little bit just to see like, oh, what pace are you going? It's
Mhm.
just, I'm sure you did that a little, but
I was that's
locked.
that was the beginning of the end, but I was doing okay, and I was giving Dylan the work. Busted that ass on
He
the
should row a
roll.
little more.
He
Figure it
rows like
out.
he rows like 20K a week. I do like 5, not even.
Yeah.
Wasting his time. What's he doing over there? So that's my race highlight.
Yeah. But overall, I thought women's race was fantastic. Last year we had, the podium change in the men's race. This year it was very dramatic with the women. I think the best performer all season ended up with the title, and it was impressive to watch.
It was great how it ended up, right? They were 2-2. This was the rubber match. Makes it
Yeah.
definitive. It wasn't a one-off. Like if Lauren like was kicking her butt all year and then this happens, it could just be like, oh, it was because of the sleds. There could be
Mhm.
an excuse there, but there's not now, right? It's 3-2, different courses all the way through. And Meg was just ready to rock. Ready to rock.
Yeah.
Really proud of her, really happy for her. So
I also like that even though the results don't tell the whole story, they don't change the results. Like if Lauren comes through and takes third, people are like, what happened? Did she
mm,
fade? Uh, She ran the second best race. She just had a terrible 2 stations and had to come back from it. But the fact that she got back to second means that if you just look at the results, they're accurate, and you don't like you can get further explanation, but you don't need it.
yes.
The two best
That's
people took 1-2. Thank goodness we didn't have like catastrophe out there.
yes, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I don't think any of the other women who found themselves in second through fourth for a decent part of the race panicked, knowing that they're at a world championship ahead of Lauren. I think that they just kind of kept racing how they were racing, and
Yeah.
Lauren was just great enough to finish and close at the end. But I think that Vivian, Viola, Linda, like their confidence is going to be as high as you can imagine going into next season. Like they know they could be at that next level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huge shout for Vivian landed on this
Yeah.
podium. USA took another sweep of the podium.
No more Delory.
No
She
more
has
Delory.
officially passed that fourth place curse.
Exercise those demons, the Delory demons.
He listens
So,
to the show, so he always messes with me when we mention him. So it's pretty funny.
and now we'll never mention him again because
Yeah,
Vivian's
sorry,
out.
James.
Vivian's out of there.
James got his podium, Vivian got hers, so it's over.
It's all good. So, big shouts to Vivian for that. Viola and Linda, super consistent all season. Viola really showed out for this World Championship. She's been on the podium.
She's a good championship racer.
She only really has flopped one time, and it was in
Yeah,
DC, or not DC, in Las Vegas, where I
but
thought she would have been the favorite to win that. I think she ran an extra lap, but just really wasn't in the race. And
she's done like basically every single world championship. There's been maybe she missed one, like maybe the 2018 one. But she's been pretty much at every one of them.
totally,
She's
totally,
got a second before, right?
2 seconds because
2 seconds. Yeah,
She was second
yeah.
in Leipzig as well.
Yep, you're right.
And second in the Elite Six or whatever they had that one year.
Yeah,
You know what I like about her is that you watch her go through it out there. Like you look at Meg, you look at Lauren, you look at some of these top men, and they look like robots because they're just so dialed and they never vary from what they're doing. And she changes her running form a couple times per lap. She has like this shoulder tick she does, and then from time to time you see her like really start churning, and then you can see her trying to keep herself in it and on it. And I really like watching that. She's a pretty expressive racer just with her how she fights to keep her
battles.
form going. And that's fun to watch.
She goes hard. She
Yeah.
goes hard.
She has funky row form, right?
She does. She like swings this way on her
Yeah,
ski. She's a little bit unorthodox on a lot of
but it
things.
works. She's had the results,
She's a
so
very good athlete. and so and
Yeah,
she moves well, but yeah, she's just a little. But
yeah.
like BK said, she looks different out there.
Yeah. But
Like
you
she's
can
moving.
see her get to the point where it's bad and decide to dig back down again.
Hmm.
You can not everyone shows that. She shows it, and it's fun to be reminded that even someone running in second through fourth throughout this race is going through it out there. Like she
Yeah.
probably on screen had 10 different points on the runs where you're like, man, she is trying to stay together here. And that's cool to be reminded how bad it is for everyone.
Couple
Did Meg
other.
say she was? Did Meg say she was suffering at all, or was she just on it?
She got out of sled pull with momentum. She didn't need to push very hard later. So most of the messaging I heard from her, the way she's talking about it, is that no, she wasn't really, and that she wasn't really there. She didn't really need to go there,
It's
She
such
got
a
to
weird.
chill on the row, which
Yeah,
is everything.
right?
that's your dream. If you can get to the row, like, because everyone always talks about survive till the row and then recover so that you can dig back in. She got to recover and then some.
Yeah, absolutely. So great race on her end. I mean, it couldn't have gone better, clearly.
Mm-mm.
Shouts a couple other notable athletes to shout out for Amy Bevilacqua finishing seventh, ran
Crazy.
strategically very interesting. She was
Mhm.
way in the back to start and started to just move up through the sleds and then started to run well later. Camilla Massa was really in the mix. She was like top five in the
Yeah.
row, into the row,
She
and
put herself in it.
then she put herself in it, and then the heat just got her as well with a nightmare of wall balls. She came in the wall balls eighth, just like kind of slowly losing position. She had like a 13-minute wall ball or something like that, like really on the brink of heat exhaustion. But
Yeah.
it was just unfortunate because
She asserts herself. Like,
she had the fitness to be top five, right?
yeah.
In this race.
She didn't come there to just try to get the best place possible. She was there to compete.
Yeah, and she did that to the point where her body said no more. And
Yeah.
Lauren Griffith had a similar type of experience. She went out a little. I would say she probably went out a little bit too hard, but then had some kind of setback when it comes to her calf. I think when pushing the sled and
Hmm.
toughed it out the rest of the way through. We mentioned Kate Davey, who was gutty, ran a really strong race until it kind of fell out on her. But yeah, so a lot of great performances. Really, it was just a tough day. It was a
Yeah.
tough weekend. Even speaking to many of the athletes who ran in age group world championships and doubles, it just was hard out there. It was just a grind. So everybody who went out there and competed went through it for sure.
Yeah. I know there's that quote out there that it's like you don't know how good you have to be bad at the CrossFit Games. I think no matter how poorly some athletes may have done, I hope people realize how good you have to be to get last place at Hyrox World Championship. Just to get in that race period, it's ridiculous. The sport is growing so fast, and just seeing who made it, like we have a lot of new names, men and women's side. Next year, there are going to be 2 or 3 new people who we're not even aware of who are going to mix things up even more. Like it is crazy just to get to this point. So even if you had a bad performance, the fact that you got there, honestly, you're going to look back and it's really impressive.
That was most of the messaging that I received from people on said, like, hey, at least 13th in the world is still pretty good. I said, shut up.
Yeah.
I said, it sucks. I'm not trying to hear that shit,
Yeah.
Jack.
I'm just saying.
But you're right.
Yeah.
but you're right. For me,
I'm gonna
I
give a
don't
shout out.
accept.
Dory Kirshner PR'd.
I know that's crazy.
That's a tough
Crazy.
place to PR, which means she really PR'd.
Yeah.
Her and athlete who I coached, Michelle McDonald, also PR'd, and I was like,
Nice.
nice. And then everybody else, no PRs. I don't. There was. I wonder what the percentage of people to PR at this event were. It's probably 5% maybe, and then maybe like it's their second pro or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, on to the dudes. Alex Ronkovich, he came through with his first ever world title. He had he has like 2 seconds, a third, maybe 3 seconds and a third up until
And then
this
he just didn't
point.
get invited one year because
No
why
invite.
would you invite a guy who has that on his resume?
Get some influencers in here instead.
Yeah.
who are impressive on Instagram.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was something that has been evading him for a bit. He certainly seemed like he leveled up this season and was able to have a very impressive come from behind win. Again, I haven't watched, so I have a general idea of what the race, how it went. So I know he had to come from behind, and the wall balls was there and just did a million wall balls unbroken until they told him to go. Uh, and Sandy finishing second, Michael Sandbach, which is a surprise.
To you
Kind of,
guys,
kind of.
I was tooting his horn leading in, and you said he's not that dude, and I said he is.
When like I was starting, of course I saw what everyone else sees, but at a point, when are you gonna do it? When you're boom or bust, but it's only bust.
It's like if you
And
run a real good 800 and you're like, this guy's the next miler. It's like, but you don't finish the mile. I can understand why you think that.
and when
But
and when you
also,
do and when you do finish, it's like okay, it's not on a different
yeah,
level. But
I,
this was
I would have thought if I was in the draft and he was still on the board at the end of round 3, I would have thought that was crazy.
I think that was the case. Yeah, he was maybe the sixth or seventh guy off the board.
I would have picked him earlier than that.
Yeah, now he hasn't finished a race in like months. Like
It doesn't make logical sense, but he just sometimes you have to be a little different to be able to fight for a world championship.
and he fought.
Oh yeah.
He fought for sure.
Take
And
away
that's
that sled pull, we could be talking about him.
We do.
exactly.
He wins.
Exactly. Like, and then JK finishing third.
I told you, it was real.
Fluke, no fluke in Cologne. He's the youngest by a decent amount in that top 5. Right?
Does he win the most improved athlete of the year?
Yeah, I think so. He was 8th last year. Third
He is
at-
the best
Sandy was behind
transitional
that.
runner I've ever seen at Hyrox. I have never seen people leave or enter stations with his pace and even just the open stride that he has. He left sled, and then at the end of the race, he left his lunges in full 5K stride.
Mhm. He's
Just
figured
unreal.
something out. He's figured something out with the transitions.
Yeah.
He's figured something out there, and he's like sprinting out of the stations.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Now he has an aggressive looking stride. Even when he's running around people, he looks like he's running significantly faster than them, but you can't fake that transition. People get up off lunges and they do their little like stutter, my legs are tree trunks thing for a little bit before they get to work. And he was out. He looked like Rich coming off of the sled push.
And it could be boiled down almost to choice. He's just choosing to suffer real hard for like 10 seconds after something and just settles in.
Mhm.
And he's found that that's doable, where a lot of us might be like, I need to get my bearings back before I get rolling. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe that's not necessarily how it has to be done.
He got rolling though, and you could see it. You could see that he was on tilt in that race.
His
And
lunges were nasty.
Oh yeah.
He's good at lunges, but they were
At
really
one
good.
point, like halfway through the race, he was over a minute behind the top 3. Like he clawed back, and his lunges visually on camera, they're like, that guy is not 45, 50 minutes into a race right now. This is crazy how fast he's going.
He had the worst sled pull of the field, I believe.
Really?
Hmm. But that took him from, I mean, he was in 4th going in, and he only lost 1 spot, but he lost almost
like
a
a
minute of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so let's start with Alex.
Yeah.
He's just a beast, man.
Dominant.
What do we got to say? What else can we say
I-
about Alex?
I think that we have the blueprint for how to beat Hunter now.
Go on.
You just go out fast at the beginning. Like clearly they're great skiers, but this is the second time when Hunter's had company, like basically more than 20 minutes into a race, and it hasn't gone well at World Championships. Like we knew Hunter's metrics were crazy, but I think Alex and Sandy probably went into this race being like, I'm going to be ahead of him because I just do not want him near me 20, 30 minutes into the race. Like that, they needed to get to the rower ahead of him. And I think it was mission accomplished. And that that threw things off. Hunter was struggling. It was, just wasn't his day. Faded at the end, but realistically was third place most of the race. But I think this is the blueprint on how to win now, and Hunter's not getting younger.
PK, agree with this. You sign off on this blueprint. Jack brings it to you. Needs
You
approval.
have to, because you can't take time on him on the back end if he's leading. He doesn't give time away when he's in the lead, controlling the race, having his confidence. We've seen it time and time again. He just has the first or second fastest station from burpee broad jumps all the way through to the finish after having the first or second fastest on the first three. So yeah, I agree. You have to be there, and then you have to make him question if he timed it wrong, because he doesn't race enough to totally know. He only can go off his training, and you have to make him question that. And they did. And they broke the mold a little bit. The rule technically got broken that he was technically leading coming off burpee broad jumps. He jumped out like 1 inch ahead.
Yeah.
But for all intents and purposes, he had been passed on burpee broad jumps. He had been resting a lot. It was already going south. And you
Alex
have to
passed
be
him
there
on
to,
that next run, but
Yeah.
he gained that second back and
Yeah.
added 6 more seconds. So that's 7 seconds on a run.
yeah, it was over. And I agree. I don't think there are many people on this planet capable. I said it beforehand. I don't know how many people are capable of even leading him if they want to for the first 3, if he wants to not let them.
Yeah.
But if you can, then you have a puncher's chance. You don't have a chance if you spot him 30 seconds coming off of sleds and can't make any headway on lunges. I mean, on
Nope.
burpee broad jumps. There's no chance. So yeah, you have to press him.
Is this outcome different if it's not 2 dudes? If it's not Sandy throwing punches, and then when he got called on that pull, Ronco's right there throwing punches as well. If it's one or the other, and Hunter has momentum in one direction, or is Ronco going to win no matter what? If it's Alex versus Hunter head to head, does he come away with it, or is Hunter trying to weather 2 storms? Was it just like too much?
I don't know. I think Ronkovic is that good. I think we've seen he's one of the only, those 2 guys are the only people we've seen play with bursts throughout the year, other than maybe Rylan. Rylan's played around with surges. Everyone else, like you and Pelayo on your big days, you just built. And you did it, you feathered it, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And we haven't seen anyone else that can just play around with bursts. That suggests an excess of, I don't know what it is, fitness or talent or guts. I don't know what it is, but those are the only 2 that have had that. We've never even seen Hunter play with bursts in the second half of a Hyrox.
Logically, it doesn't make sense. Like, if you're in an hour race, why would you throw a surge in 40 minutes in for 4 minutes? Like, that's crazy.
It is. It speaks to a different ceiling. So I think that either way, he was in trouble. Yeah. But having 2, it almost looked like they came in deciding we're going to take turns pulling on this guy.
But Sandy was never not going to lead. Alex always goes out hard.
It just happens to be the way that they race. Right?
They race this way regardless.
Yeah.
I would have swore they were teammates watching this race happen.
It almost looked like sometimes
in France.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tour de France, or like in the Olympics, you'll have like the sacrificial Kenyan teammate who's not going to do it, but they know their teammate's gonna. Like,
right. Yeah. It's interesting to think about, but both of those dudes, were so impressive.
Alex going out hard on that first ski, I was like, this, I know he does this. This is too big of a gap. It just looked crazy how fast he was going on that first 1,000. And then I knew obviously he'd lead right at the front, or he'd leave the skier because he's fantastic on that. And then Sandy, same deal. You just expect him to go out hard. And then like, I think it was sled pull. I was like, I don't think they're gonna fade. They seem to be able to hold this, which it just seemed like it was gonna be their day. And Hunter just didn't have that pep in his step. That even on the runs, I was like just sort of expecting him to just go past, but he seemed complacent to stay in second. And the usual Hunter strategy, he doesn't want you next to him. Like, he wants to break you, like assert front run. And I just didn't see him making the attempt to get in front at any point. And then like Sandy had that crazy surge. I don't know if it was, after zone 5 maybe, where he just like took off, and I was
After
like,
the
it's
row, I
over.
believe.
Yeah, I was like, it's done.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of the race itself, let's because I want to talk about Alex. Yeah, let's just focus on this
Yeah,
point
no,
now.
we need to give Alex a shout out. I just thought the biggest story probably heading in was, can anybody beat Hunter? And yeah, it happened.
So coming, yes, exactly, and yeah, he was beat handily. So row out, Alex had 4 seconds on Hunter, 5 seconds on Sandy. Farmer's carry in, Sandy put 10 seconds on both of them. He gained 14 seconds
14, yeah,
on
and it looked
Alex
like it.
and Hunter after serving a penalty on the sled pull. A penalty that, like, it was the full penalty, right? Like the race
5
ending
meter, 5
penalty
meter.
that we
Yeah,
that we typically they changed it this time where it made more sense. It's still ridiculous. It's still absurd that you get a 40-second penalty for 3 inches of gain, but they assessed it at the end of the pull, where in previous they would stop you where you were. You have to pull it back 5 meters. So it was really a 10-meter penalty is what it used to be, and now it's just five.
Yeah.
effectively
Still
5.
too much. Still,
Because you have to run to the other side
you have to
to
stop what you're
reset
doing.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you pull it one direction, you got to pull it back the other direction.
Well, watching it, the announcers were confused. They thought that his judge was like, "Oh, do a fifth pull," and it was just another situation where what can go wrong in a major event for Sandy. And I thought that they misdirected him, that the judge wasn't paying attention, but he was just saying like, "Here's your penalty." But I was like, this guy can't get a break. Like that I felt so bad during the moment, but he stayed composed, and that was impressive.
Man. It wasn't even 3 inches from what I could tell. Like it was marginal. And he got called right away. And in the females race, they had a camera right up on, and Meg lined up over the line on her first 2 pulls.
You're allowed to be in the middle of the line. You
She
can
was
be like
and
when
she
you go
got called on
forward.
it.
Oh, they did call her.
And then she got back into it. And he on the backside was no further than like fractions over
Right.
the line.
Just stepping on it. That's
You
you can't step
it's
on
just
it.
like again, the optics aren't great
It's
on
stupid.
this. It was
It's bad.
such a penalty. Such a penalty.
But for him to battle back, especially an athlete whose mental resolve we have not necessarily seen to be the strongest, for him to receive that type of penalty and then do probably the most gutty move in any circumstance at that point of the race where things are really hard, to really try to seize this thing and continue to put on more and more. He knew he needed to have to get away from wall balls. He basically executed as well as he possibly could, but it was just like little bit too short.
Came up a penalty too short.
Yeah,
Penalty
he
too
ran
short.
he ran a winning race, but because of that one infraction, that cost him the win.
I
my
mean,
mind.
yes. I mean, it's easy to
Yeah.
to boil it down to that. Of that happening, maybe it doesn't play out the same way. Maybe he doesn't have the same fire lit under him. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
You're
Can't
right.
You can't say for sure. You can't say for
Yeah.
sure.
You can't
Especially-
get the surge of passing someone if you're not behind them. And you don't
Yeah.
know how those chemicals would have been flowing if he was just running next to them and then they started to pull on him. You don't know, but either way, that was one of the best male performances I've ever seen. And he didn't win.
And
Yeah,
Alex with he out wall balled him by almost 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't want Alex near you in the wall ball zone,
And he did what?
And he did
111?
more.
Yeah.
And he did more. Yeah, he did 20 seconds more
That-
work.
that negative reinforcement of like seeing the red X. Did you prefer that versus a judge?
I preferred nothing in that race.
Because you don't mess up. Yeah.
Everything in that race was trash. No, I don't know. I was in La La Land by the wall balls.
Yeah.
I couldn't really tell you what was going on.
Yeah. But just real quick back to Sam, do you think that was his game plan ahead of time, or he's like, I just need to do a move right here because no one's expecting? Because I feel like you can expect surges at certain points. I've never seen one after the rower. That just
I don't think I've ever
doesn't
seen
happen.
one during a run.
Period. Yeah.
Yeah.
That where it worked out. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Usually people are doing something during the run, it's on after the ski erg, and they are confused about how this race operates.
Oh, there are 50 more minutes. Oh, I didn't realize
That was easy. I feel great.
I'm crushing, but no, I mean, I think yes, that his strategy had to be, I need to create a gap. even if it costs me however much it costs me in wall balls, like I need to get there before everybody else. And
Yeah.
maybe that momentum could help him really muster through it, but he's just not good at wall balls. It can't overcompensate. It doesn't overcompensate for just his lack of. He doesn't move very well. It just takes him a long time.
But he was using the crowd's energy like just several times, just asking him to hype him up and stuff. It was a performance.
Yeah, shouts
Yeah.
to him. Shouts to him. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what the performance that we were waiting for.
Yeah.
Extremely impressive.
But it wasn't the best performance. Alex Ronkovic
no
got
doubt.
his title.
So after Farmers Carry in, Sandy put 10 seconds on Alex in just the Farmers. What?
That's what I'm saying. He had a better performance than Alex.
Yeah.
He must have been sprinting with those things.
People weren't moving that fast visually compared to some other races on Farmers.
Because you had the double loop.
He had he had 135. Yeah, Alex 145.
When Hunter put him down,
those aren't super fast times.
No.
Hunter put him down.
Sandy was moving. Alex, the announcer was like, I wonder if Alex will make a move right here. And then around the bend, Hunter put him down. And then he just left a gap for Alex to just go right by him. And I was like, Hunter's out.
He moved wide and set him down.
That was very surprising. Yeah.
This is where it fell apart for me.
Really.
When the Farmers Carry goes poorly, it's like, it's not because you can't carry the weights, It's because you're just out of juice.
You're toast. Yep.
And then put another 10 seconds on him on that next run. That's crazy.
I don't remember who told me this, so I'm quoting someone that may not be even smart. But that your grip strength is highly tied to your central nervous system and endurance. And when you are extreme, one can affect the other. Like blowing out your grip fatigues your whole body because it's very tied to that, and vice versa. When you're just overall fatigued, your grip can drop without having used your grip much.
I believe it.
And then you add in humidity and the harder sled pull that you see people fall apart on Farmers, and it doesn't make sense to them. And the explanation I heard once was that's just systemic fatigue really comes out in grip strength.
Yeah. And that's how I just say that like in jest, like, oh man, like you're so tired that it comes all the way to your fingers. And that's basically what happens,
And nothing can support them. And they're very small muscles and attachments and insertions. Like nothing can help there.
Can't do
and so if they're fatigued, you're done.
We talked about JK a bit with his different type of strategy, but he came in behind Hunter in the lunges 35 seconds or so and left 30 seconds ahead of him. He took that full minute that he lost on the sled pull and got it all back on just those lunges.
And if he didn't have that struggle on the sleds, like it could have been a completely different race for him as well. He could have been in desperation mode, but just showing how much he had left in the tank with those lunges right there. It's like if he was in more of a battle instead of a minute plus behind earlier in the race, like four-headed race, realistically.
He was the top one with 312. Bo, who is very strong at lunges as well, was second in 327. Like that type of gap.
That's a gap.
And everything. Then it was like 328, 329, 332. Like that's generally what you would see is 3 to 6 seconds between all the elites. Not JK. Nope. Just doing work. So big shout to him. He's really he's figured something out. And
told you it was the real deal beforehand.
I'm not trying
Listen to old tapes. Listen to the tapes. Get tech support on it.
But you were going off time after we talk about time over and over again.
I know.
I was skeptical because he didn't beat anybody all year until this race.
Do you guys want to see the adjusted times see how Alex, Hunter, all them?
Let's talk about Hunter quick.
Yeah.
I think that needs to be spoken about. What happened? We talked a little bit about it all. How can we explain this? He's been so dominant.
He didn't race enough.
He didn't race much last year. He raced even less last year, I think.
I guess they raced Anaheim a couple weeks ago, but like Stockholm, that was it. Whole year.
I think this performance is his utter lack of respect for the field. And in the past, they shared that lack of respect.
Self
I think,
disrespect.
yeah, he was on a pedestal and he was able to put everyone on little like strings and play with them in the race. At the start line, people looked at him differently. He had this aura around him. You could feel it. And we've talked about this before. He was just the start line's different when he was there. And this year, people made such leaps in their fitness and then in their times. And whether the times mattered or not, they finally looked at it and said, I can beat this guy. And now this was another year of him racing less than everyone else. So I don't know exactly why, but if you just look at the psychological side, people finally believed they could. They finally saw times that said, we can. And they are more dialed to their race now than he is.
Mm,
When the sport gets better, you can't race less
mm, mm.
for years in a row. Eventually, it all comes due. And I think the field just caught up confidence and fitness and strategy wise all at once.
I think his shoulder injury probably had more to do with
Yeah,
his
I was gonna say he got into a bike accident that was pretty serious, like
Mhm.
2 months ago.
and but at the same time, right? If you're on a mountain bike when you have a world championship to prepare for, I think that's disrespectful to the competition.
I
If
think
you're
it was a
putting
road
your,
bike.
it wasn't. It's
Oh, wasn't?
no, he was on a
Okay.
mountain bike. He was like
Okay.
going down a trail and took a spill. And
Okay. I just know he does like a bunch of 60+ mile rides on Strava, so I figured it wasn't a mountain bike. But you're probably right.
yeah, it was a mountain bike for sure this time. And to me, that's like
It's Ricky Garrard.
it's Ricky Gerard. It's like you're just
Yeah.
not taking it seriously enough, or you're not considering it. And the shoulder injury probably cost him more in his training. I mean, it couldn't have felt good. It couldn't have been better for his training.
Yeah.
You know, it's so I think that probably had more to do with it than what he wanted to let on. And he's not necessarily an excuse maker.
Mm-mm.
So, and he operates on bravado. So he was doing his typical thing, but it had to have mattered. It had to have mattered.
Yeah. Not like you showed up not fit. Like overall, Hunter, you talk or Bracken, you talked with Hunter, and I'm sure you have. Like his metrics are crazy.
Yeah.
Like we knew he was heading into this in really good run fitness. I don't know how the rest of his body
Really
was
good
holding up. Like
everything fitness. But I think for the first time we saw his combined to less than other people's combined. The Europeans they seem to have more systems than the US athletes have. Like Rankovic has his system of training and Sandy has a specific system and Hunter has super high fitness metrics right now. And in the past that was good enough. And I truly don't believe he believed that it would matter. I think he thought that the other guys were just not on his level, and they still may not be, but they were on that day, and that was enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's fair. He's also not,
I
go ahead.
I was just gonna say I actually do think he respected the competition based on how much he was cutting weight so that he could be a little bit better of a runner. I think he was realizing like
He
some
did
of
it
these guys
last year
can
and the year
move.
before too.
You know,
But didn't he show up
typically
like
his mold.
I thought he showed up like 215 one year, and that was the year they lost because he just didn't really
One year
take
he
it
really
seriously.
was disrespectful. The year Toby
Yeah,
gave it to him. That was
yeah.
that
That
The
was
that
one when
the
was
Tiago and
CrossFit
Alex
year,
beat him.
right?
what would you say?
No,
It's
Wasn't that
21.
his
CrossFit
CrossFit
Games.
year where he got big?
Mm, he went to the CrossFit Games
Like
in
19 or something.
19. This was 21. He just was fat. He just wasn't in shape
Yeah.
in 21. He just was like before that, like 3 months before that, he was like, I'm not doing Hyrox World Championships, and then he decided to
Yeah.
do it just out of shape, and
Gotcha.
that was probably when he really understood, like, okay, I got to be it. And then when Kent beat him, I guess the next year, right? That I think
Yeah.
that's what kind of made him realize, like, okay, if I'm going to do well at this, I need to be in my tip top shape. So he's cut weight the previous 3 years now.
Okay.
He's such a student of all sports. He reads probably as much as anyone I know in this sphere. He's just always researching other sports and I think that he's seen what it takes to be high level in all other sports. Like at some point you have to have a special engine and you have to have like special metrics. And I don't think he believed that anyone in the sport currently had that.
Mm.
I think that like he looks at it, a Rylan or someone who comes in with a huge engine. It would take someone like that to come in and go all in on this. I don't think he thought that Sandy or Ronk could combine all their things high enough because they don't have a single like otherworldly metric that he was aware of. And so I don't think he thought the threat was within. I think he was looking at it's going to come from somewhere else, people that have world-class other metrics already. And I think that there's just an underestimation of how high those two guys have combined all of their skill sets in harmony to be able to do this specific sport.
Have we just reached the point where there are multiple hunters? Like we just assumed no one else on the planet was like him, and there just are. There are a couple more guys that are pretty much like him at this point. Like we saw Lauren for a few years, and guess what? Meg just popped up a year and a half ago or whatever, and I think the sport's developing.
I think if Hunter trained for Hyrox with the specificity that everyone else there trained for Hyrox, I still don't think there's another Hunter on this planet. But I think he trained more fitness than everyone else and less Hyrox than everyone else.
Okay.
Maybe not more fitness than Dylan.
let's chill.
But you said, you think that like skill wise, some of these people are just already showing that they are like him.
We've just known.
Look at the rock zone times that people are throwing up. It's not like he's creating that much of a gap, and now you just need to find some other guys who are in the 180 to 200 pound range who can run pretty fast, and
he's human.
There are more. Yeah,
he's human, and we've known him for so long being bigger than human and being untouchable, but he's also not getting younger.
I mentioned that a couple episodes ago. I was like, look at the ages on some of these people. We're seeing like 35, 38, 37. Like that doesn't stick around in other sports realistically. And we're going to have a few new names every single year because that's what it was like for OCR. And that's exactly what it's been like for hybrid so far. You just have a few new names showing up, and normally they're not going to be in their late 30s when they're making a difference. I think a lot of people 25, 28, that we're going to see some new names that are going to really shake things up.
I don't believe that the age is a factor on performance right now yet in this sport. It's too power based. There's too much endurance. I think into your mid to late 30s, you can be just as good as mid to late 20s performance wise, but the margin is now smaller. You didn't hear people dealing with injuries in the past. Now they're dealing with injuries, like the recovery, all that. That's where it's going to come in.
The recoverability and figuring out, it's like an aging basketball player, right? Needs to figure out how to rely on their skill other than their athleticism. And I think that that's similar to an endurance sport where you have to figure out what is going to be the dosage that you can recover from and still get to the starting line feeling strong as you did in your late 20s. And if you're cooking yourself the way you used to cook yourself, it doesn't come back the way it does. And maybe there's something to that here.
And he that process this training block,
and maybe it's just teetering on that edge a bit too much. Who knows?
But Rich, I'm gonna do another share screen real quick. Just give Alex his shout out. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
So we already saw the women's adjusted times that I've got, and right here. We had Alex from Vienna. It was the fastest time of the year heading into this.
Nice.
So I should have trusted that again in mass prediction contest. And
look at me with the 15th time. I outperformed that, finishing right up 13th. There. So
like third place, James Kelly right there. Like his time was real. Alex has 2 times in the top 5. It was just really impressive. We don't really have Sandy at the top of the list because
he only finished one race. Many. Yeah,
his Stockholm race was,
and it was super fast,
pretty solid. But
and that's what I've been saying. Like when you look at Sandy, the race he finished, he's like a 58 guy, but now it's like clearly. What was Ronco's adjusted for this one?
I'll add this in. Oh, 4th, so 56 flat, basically adjusted.
Okay, so you thought this was fairly.
This is a fair course. Yeah. Historically speaking, if we're going all the way, like a lot of courses are just too fast now, and so this kind of fits more with the 2021, 22 stuff that would
which
get it,
now
all things
feels like a
considered.
slow course, but it's
Yeah,
now like
it
a
feels
regular
slow, but
course.
historically it's yeah.
Fair.
But yeah, you can see once you add this in, Alex has 3 of the top 6 adjusted times of the year. Like, it makes sense that he's the world champion.
Dude's a beast.
He's that good this year.
Dude's a beast.
So
Yeah.
what's the intel on Dylan? Was it just what we worried is it might not get it right? Was there injury? What's going on?
He just didn't have that juice. So
Yeah.
potentially that he got there at a decent time. I think he was in on Sunday, so I think it was enough time for him to come around on that. But like me, like I joked about my highlight being out rowing him. Like that shouldn't happen.
Right.
Like flat out shouldn't happen. So yeah, it just wasn't his day. It just wasn't a day. Maybe he just didn't have it all there. He did have the kinesio tape on his Achilles. I don't know if
Achilles, yeah.
if he had been missing time or what that was all like for him. So, but
You know
let's
what?
Go ahead.
Well, no, finish your thought.
I was going to change it.
Okay. So what my wrap up of this is what this World Championship showed. It was interesting watching this and NCAAs over the weekend and Europeans at the top level in really, really good sports. You can't just be really good. You have to be on your game that day and nail your tactics. You saw people come into NCAAs ranked first and take last, that kind of thing, where someone gets on their day, and that's enough of a separator at the high end because the margins are so slim. And it's kind of cool, even though frustrating for the athletes, to see this in Hyrox this very year happen, that people came in and whether it was your day or not was a huge differentiator. It wasn't just like, hey, we're all fit, we're all relatively healthy, let's do this. It doesn't work at the highest level. You have to be on in order to have a chance.
Yeah.
And the people that weren't didn't have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And that speaks to how good the sport has become.
But you're never going to get the entire championship field to run an A level race like
Right.
on the same day.
You'd like to see it. You'd like to see it. You like to feel that most people could, but getting to that start line, as we saw with all these roll downs, getting there healthy is like an accomplishment
Yeah.
in itself.
We didn't have
Truly.
15 again. So, well, I guess 15
we did
finishers.
15
but
minutes. I want to give it up to our guy Pelayo Menendez Fernandez. He just stuck his nose in there. Very similar to his race in Chicago.
Mhm.
Right? Like, pushed toward the top instead of hanging with the second group, and just continued to plug and used his strengths where he could, which was his run. He didn't have a good sled push pull, good enough for him, but he ran his way right back into the top 5, and then just put himself in the position for when an athlete from that top group falling back, which was Hunter in this case, to capitalize on that and take it. And finishing 4th in the world in a field like this for a dude who was his first time in basically this elite field, his first real year of committing totally to this. Yeah. And finishing 4th is incredible.
But what's the highest level triathlon like race that he's been to?
He actually ran the 70.3 World Championships here in Nice. I actually don't know what his triathlon accomplishments are.
Okay. I was just going to say, like, has he been to a equivalent type of stage before in the triathlon where, like, he probably wasn't intimidated?
I mean, yeah, not the way.
Not good 4th, but yeah.
He seems to have the mindset to like steady Eddie.
Just like, I'm good
Can't
to go. He's
really
not
throw
afraid.
me off.
He's
He
only
was
like
pumped crossing the finish line.
He weighs like less than 170, I think.
His upper body doesn't look like it's changed yet.
He's not trying to get put on strength at all. He like doesn't want to add muscle mass. He's like, I'm cool here. And this was a heavy sled day, and he still was able to do it.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Good for him.
Heck of a season. Shouts
to my guy. Love that dude.
Yeah.
Let's talk about rumors, and then I'm gonna go out onto the beach, the rock beach. I'm just gonna I'm gonna lay there on the ground because that's how I feel. I feel like I deserve that.
Bed
All
of
right,
nails.
let's stir the pot, Rich. Let's hear some rumors.
I want to hear BK's first.
I don't want to be out of pocket with this.
All right.
Rumors.
World
Can I
Championship
name a
rumor?
region? World Championship region?
Singapore is on the is the
Singapore is
That,
what
that
I'm
was
hearing.
what I heard.
We're all hearing this
Crazy.
trickled all the way down. Singapore was also a rumor for 2025 World Championships last year. Like this is not the first time I've heard
Right.
Singapore. I heard a variety of different. I probably heard 4 or 5 other cities as well. Some Nordic areas. But I think
Right near Singapore.
yeah, yeah. That was the only one in APAC that was just like what. But I
Now
heard
you
of
want
a variety
humid.
of
Didn't they have that outdoor race in Singapore that was like
It would
like
be
the
at the
dome.
National Stadium.
at that track or something?
Is this
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
what hemisphere are we talking about? Where's Singapore at?
very close to the equator,
Oh,
near like Indonesia, like that part of the world.
it's
It
not
is
like
not a fully covered stadium. It's
right.
partially covered. They have air conditioning, but you can't cover the entire thing. And
It's
it's open top, which means even if you do blast it, it's going to be
Doesn't matter.
very humid. There's going to be
does it rain there?
droplets.
Yeah, does it like I'm guessing it rains. They just have the open top.
No. But all I'm saying is that if we thought this was humid, goodness, you better get in a sauna for next year.
So I have
What?
the
What's the
adjusted
wet
ratings.
sauna?
I have the adjusted ratings, and Singapore is the slowest race of the year.
It was
This
crazy.
past
It
season
was
6.
crazy. Because it was like that was our guy Gabe Heck who had that Hong Kong race. Like, damn, dude's legit. And then he had like 6 minutes slower or something. And
Yeah. So prepare for a long race if it ends up being in Singapore.
so to me, and let me know if this is my own personal bias. I can't understand how this is a good idea, especially being in Nice right now and seeing how many people from the UK showed out, which is their biggest market,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and Germany, like those two, and then going somewhere like
Smaller.
further,
Further.
just so
Yeah.
far away,
that-
and more. It'd
it's
be more
true.
expensive, right? It'd just be insane.
The Asian market is everything in every industry. It doesn't matter if your movie sucks here. If it does well in China, you did great. Like,
But if
I
no one qualifies
understand.
for Worlds out of the Asia Pacific region,
They just have the biggest population to draw from. I understand that. And that is it. That's the
right?
only plus side to all of this. It is a worse travel for every single other nation out there.
There's no easy way
And
to get there, North America or Europe.
I just looked $2,000. Last night I checked it out. $2,000, what? Double-digit hours of travel. And it's just going to be a non-starter for most of the open class.
You thought Abu Dhabi was difficult. Like, same deal.
Worse.
Doha was another name of a city name that
Yeah.
that popped up.
My thought is if you're looking at like the CrossFit Games, for instance, they have qualifiers from different regions. It's like we're going to give 1 spot from South America, 3 spots from Africa or whatever, but we're giving most of them to Europe, 2 regions in North America. It's like go where your competitors are. You've got a big momentum. All we've seen is mainstream media. Like in the past month, how many times have we seen big stories like big media news outlets showing like here's Hyrox New York, Lance Armstrong did that, blah blah. Like you're gaining traction. Put it there. You really want to grow your market. Once you cap out the North American market, the European market in a few years, then maybe take a risk there. But go where it's
Seems
easy
too
for
early.
most people to go. Yeah.
I agree. I don't think it should never be there,
Yeah.
but I just
Have
think
a
it's
major
too
there
early.
if you want. But
I think that's the route, right? You earn it with a major first. And we talked a year ago that it probably should alternate between, just like OCR Worlds, between East Coast US and mainland Europe.
It should be in Germany. Just put it in
And maybe
Frankfurt.
just every
Yeah.
single time in Europe. I think
Yeah, why not?
there's no reason not to.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so it's I'm with I'm with you, Jack. It just seems too early. Maybe down the road.
I'd be cool with Nordic country.
Yeah, I heard
give us some other cities, Rich. Let's start
Like,
start the rumors.
like Copenhagen was one I heard. Where else? I did not hear any German cities, which should just be what it is. But
Yeah, it's interesting. Berlin just makes a ton of sense.
Frankfurt.
yeah,
Go there.
Frankfurt just right in the
Get a
middle.
nice direct flight from Denver.
And yeah, exactly. So
We don't need Doha. We don't need Singapore.
They throw out money already though this year. They kind of had that that one-off race. So I could see, some dollars
I
getting
get it.
involved. Yeah.
Singapore is a top end, high end, wealthy nation at the high end. The government has money to spend, just like Abu Dhabi, but it doesn't mean we have to.
It's just, yeah, it's like if you're not going to get qualifiers from that region, why would you bring the world championship to that? It's not, if it's they wanted to blow out some big race, make it some spectacle like they did in New York and bring people in, sure.
Make it a major.
And spend more money somehow, yeah. Spend more to make it a bigger deal, great. But to make it world seems insane. Some majors rumors. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Same it again, or this past year, Chicago.
No. I heard I think Matt's on to something with Hong Kong. I've heard that several times. He made some kind of post about Hong Kong potentially being one. I think that will be the first one of the year. I've heard Madrid in the fall. That's November. The U.S. There's gonna be one in the U.S. It's gonna be probably New York or D.C. is what it sounds like. And then I forget where I heard the fourth one. Somewhere in Europe. Somewhere in Europe again. The system is going to be worse, not better. If they're sticking with the four majors, and they're going to roll down. There's going to be 3 qualifiers no matter what at every major. They're not going to cap the roll down. So there will only be 3 positions left for the last chance qualifier. I heard there's only one last chance qualifier, which is fine. Whatever, 3 is enough spots. And so it's going to be
one total, not one Europe, one North America.
Just one. And who knows where it's going to be. And
hopefully not California.
Allegedly.
Hopefully California.
No way. Europeans crushed California. They would
That's
never
true.
allow it back again.
That's true. We don't want that smoke. That's easy travel for them. And just like if we're looking at numbers, right? And they're going to do the same thing that they wanted to. They divvied out a bunch of auto qualifiers for the majors. So I'm going to try to do this in my head right now. The auto qualifiers for the majors currently would be Ryan Kent for winning Chicago, Hunter for winning Estocolm, Ronk for winning Vienna, and then and Dylan for winning DC. Then it would be JK for being top 3 at Worlds. It would be Pelayo for the roll down from Worlds. So we have, and is there anybody else? And Sandy
rolls down top 3 to top 5
and
at
Sandy.
Worlds.
So there's 7 positions already taken for this system. So
and then time based,
and then it's time based
for the remaining.
Right. So then you have to be a top 8 time in the world to get to these races, and if they count these dumbass courses that they already have put in on this qualifying board, we're looking at what place would we be here? So you're looking at Lucas's time would be there, Tomasz. So you have to be sub 57. Let me see. So Rylan, Bo, Luke, Tomasz, Yannick Chopla, Aaron Woodman, Joffrey for Cologne.
He's perpetually, although he didn't race this weekend.
He did. He just didn't finish.
The heat stroke.
Yeah. So you're going to have to run right now under 57 to even sniff one of these things. So I don't love that. And then
you're out.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I'll probably just
Pelayo's out. Oh no, Pelayo got in.
Pelayo got in.
So I'll just do last chance qualifier. Right.
Or maybe they could have a B heat at all these majors.
Never. That will never happen.
Why would you want
it to 20?
Yeah. Never. 15's the number. So I don't love it. There was something else with that too. Oh,
outside of Vince Carter, the number 15 has never mattered in the history of the earth for sports. There's no reason. Not even, not prime. It's not based. It should be 10 or 20. That makes sense. 15, no sense.
Yeah.
So here's a scenario. If everybody shows
Tim
up
Tebow.
to Tebow. Good. To the last. So say everyone's qualified. There's 9 qualifiers, and they all show up to the last major. You could finish in 12th and qualify because of a roll down.
So Magita's record of finishing with like a 9th getting in might get broken.
That's true. That's true. So like, yeah, if you get into them, and now the way that they're doing the roll down, like if you're basically at a major and someone pulls out, so you could get last at a major and still
Be
get in
present.
somehow.
Yeah.
You could just be
Wow.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So that
Unreal.
takes precedent over time.
that does.
So in theory, can all 15 come just from the 15 people that go to majors?
I think so.
I think numerically, yeah.
And it's a realistic opportunity that that's the case.
Well, there will still be 3 spots open for.
Correct. There'll be 12.
So yeah, 12.
That's
yes.
still a
So
lot
no
of it
time-based
pre-decided.
There could be, yeah, I guess 3. So again, say these 7 don't qualify right away, and they get, or the more auto qualifiers. Yeah, it could be capped at auto. It might not even, the math might not even work.
It could be only auto plus last chance, which fixes the system from a time perspective. They did it.
But how do you get the people in those races to
They're just
begin
gonna.
with?
That's another day.
Yeah.
They might as
Later.
well just be like, okay, you're in. They're just like they're hand selecting at this point of who they want. And they're just going to make it impossible for people to break into this sport, which again is an issue I've had. And nearsighted, it's stupid. But if they want to expand just a spectacle and put on these great things, or if they want to get the best athletes in the world in there, 2 different things. They've never seemed interested in the latter, and this is just like and again, this is rumors, but that's what I heard. Like
We're treating this all as fact. So
a couple of different people I heard this from, and it's pretty stupid. So Jack, your crystal ball, Hyrox gonna get it right. That shit is broken, man. Broken.
Maybe this is right. Maybe it gets rid of all the jokers.
I'm out. It filtered me right out of here. So that's fair.
Did we get the right people in this world championship?
Yeah, we did. We did. So the system worked this time. All right, squad. I need to wrap this thing up. We talked about rumors. We did it. We did the thing.
Wear your sunscreen. Have fun on the beach.
Thank you. I'm gonna go lay on the rocks.
He's in self-flagellation mode. He's gonna let himself burn.
Yeah, this is not. I think I can protect my skin. I'm just gonna go Paris. I'm gonna go to the Louvre. I don't think we're gonna get out to the Versailles, Jack.
You're missing out. Anybody who's listening, if you think Rich should go there, message him. Super cool place.
You will not be responded to. I'm gonna forward you to BK.
Okay.
Into the ether of the universe.
All right, squad. Thanks for joining. We'll be in our regular audio setups. At least I will be next week, regular time. So thanks for sticking around, waiting around for this episode. Appreciate you guys. Talk to you guys soon. See ya.